Muy buenas noches, gente. Bienvenidos, bienvenidas. Estamos en una nueva edición de Quiebre de Trama. En esta ocasión con João Lucas de MetaJogo RPG desde Brasil. Nos está hablando y vamos a charlar acerca de esto que venimos buscando hace tiempo, de conocer un poco el mundo de los juegos de rol en Brasil. ¿Cómo decirlo? Esta barrera idiomática que nos viene frenando desde hace tiempo. Bueno, nos animamos, encontramos la manera, la persona y aquí estamos. Comentamos, la entrevista va a ser en inglés. Voy a intentar hacer lo mejor posible. No, estoy bastante oxidado, pero allá vamos. Well, João Lucas, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. And it's weird though, even though we're neighbors, you speak Spanish, I speak Portuguese, and we have to make this interview in English. So, well, what can you do? But it's nice to talk to our neighbors, even though you're kind of geographically close, we feel a little distant. So this is an amazing opportunity, and I thank you. And thank you everyone who's watching us.
You're welcome. Well, João Lucas, tell us about you. Who are you? Where do you work? What do you do for your life?
Well, that's an interesting question actually, because first of all, I'm an RPG player, so I've been playing RPGs for a long time now, and I'm a co-founder of MetaJogo RPG, which is our channel. We produce content for Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and all other social media. But that's not my main occupation right now. I'm also a PhD student. I study experimental psychology at the University of São Paulo. Yes. And well, that's what I do for a living, but I really hope to start living from RPG games in maybe sometime soon. If our followers help us out, maybe I'll be able to do that. But right now, I'm a psychologist. I like to think myself as a researcher, actually, because I'm not a clinical psychologist. Okay. I'm more of a researcher, a scientist, I would say.
Yeah. It's more, as you say, like a science that medicine working.
Yes. I study experimental psychology, so I'm very interested in laboratory experiments, game theory, quantification, and stuff like that. So that's what I study. I study right now. I was never very interested in clinics. Many people who go into psychology, they start with, saying, "I want to help people. I want to be a clinical psychologist." It's not that I don't want to help people, but I would like to do so in a very different way.
Yeah. You want to find the mysteries of the mind, the human mind.
You could say so. Yes, you could say so. I wouldn't go as far as that, because that's like would be awesome if I could. Probably I would be winning a Nobel Prize or something like that. But yes, I'll do my research.
I imagine some kind of criminal mind, but a gaming mind or something like that.
Yes, of course. TV series, they tend to make it very romantic. It's sometimes it's quite different from what we actually do, but yes.
All right. What about RPG games? When you start, what was the game you played the first time?
So I've started a long time ago. I was like in 3rd grade or something like that. So I was just a kid back then. And one of my friends, who's also in MetaJogo RPG, he brought to our school the Vampires, the Masquerade. So it was the 2nd edition, I guess, and I didn't understand back then what RPGs were, but I remember taking a look at the book, and I was the pictures. They I was in love with the pictures, the vampires, the werewolves, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I remember saying, okay, I want to play this. and we started playing during our intervals between classes. There was like 15 or 20 minutes intervals, and we used to play during those intervals. It was pretty quick, so we need to play like through a lot of weeks to get a campaign done.
Nice.
And yes, we were kids, so we didn't finish our first campaign. But a few months later, we started playing in our homes during vacation, weekends, and stuff like that. We started with Vampire, but early on we started to build our own RPGs as well. Because we were never like a RPG group who was much into books. We were more interested in the creation, so we started to create our own RPGs.
Okay.
And every month, people would watch a movie or read a book, and hey, it would be awesome to have an RPG on that scenario. And we started to create and play whatever we wanted to. And we grew up together actually. So our group we have been playing RPGs together for almost 15 years.
Wow.
So yes, and it's pretty much the same group since we were kids. It's awesome. Yeah, I know that it's rare to find such a strong group who's interested in playing every week for years and years. So I'm grateful for that. Yes.
This group is the same stuff in MetaJogo RPG.
Yes, almost actually. Some of us came a little later, but and some of the people who used to play with me when I was a kid, they're not here in MetaJogo RPG, but I still keep in touch with them. But pretty much yes, I would say that we are like in 7 people in MetaJogo right now. So 5 out of 7 we've been friends like forever and been playing for at least 15 years.
Nice. About MetaJogo, do you play in your Twitch channel? What are you playing by now?
Well, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition because it's very popular. So we thought, well, that's interesting because there's a lot of people who play Dungeons and Dragons. So it's easier for people to watch, because when sometimes people don't know the system, the rules, the mechanics of the RPG, it's kind of hard to watch and understand what's really going on. So we went to Dungeons and Dragons, and we've been playing for Dungeons and Dragons for almost a year now. So yes,
The same campaign.
our first. No, we played through 5 months Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It was our first campaign. It's a Dungeons and Dragons module. It takes your characters from 1st to 5th level. So it's a short campaign, but it's very well written. It's very interesting. And right now we're playing a longer campaign called Storm King's Thunder, which is there's a Viking flavor to it. It's very Norse, So there's giants and frost giants actually.
Okay.
So that's what we're playing right now. It's a module. It's a very popular one. I don't know if you know it, but I would really say go and take a look because it's very nice.
I think like when I get to your channel, you were fighting with some kind of god or semi-god or something like that. Could be.
Yes, that's not into the book actually. It's something.
Homebrew.
It's kind of it's kind of funny, because we do that a lot when you're
It's funny.
playing.
It's good.
We're playing through a module. I don't like to follow the module very strictly, so I give myself some freedom to create. And this is a funny story actually, because we were playing during our game, and I didn't see it coming, but one of our players found like a bow, a magic bow, and we have this channel rewards we use during our campaigns. People can, make meta coins, which is
We
yeah,
in
to
our
it.
channel we use cards, stream loots to make the chat playing in the game.
Yes, so that's it.
Okay.
And one of our followers, he did something strange. He said that the bow was cursed with a goddess, the goddess of worms and goddess of death and stuff like that. It was a evil deity, and she tried to make a pact with one of our players, the one who found the bow. So it pretty much was a history created by one of our followers.
Nice.
And our players started to go into it, and they started to interact with this goddess. And, you know, I just played along. So it happens that our players are good, the god was evil. So at some point, they started to go into a conflict, you know. And she took the soul of one of our players, and they went to rescue him. So I think that's the session you're talking about.
Yes.
So it was all like a co-creation, I could say, a little bit of what I did, but the main idea came from our followers actually.
Wow, it is really nice. We got some similar story here. It was a one shot from, I think, Gali is from now in chat, is from Mexico. With him, with Ulises, another partner of him, and Braimar. He's one of the content creators from Mexico too. They were fighting with a demon, and people with cards start to buff the demon, not the players. So the demon gets stronger and stronger, and finally almost kill them all. It was
it happens.
Such a moment was so funny, and yes, people create the demon, but yeah, I understand the point. I think that I don't know what you think about it. People in Twitch wants to participate, to make some interaction with the stream actually. How you see it? You around communities in Twitch. I mean, there's a lot of people interacting. I mean, there's another channels where people in chat interact with the stream, or a lot of them are just a game of D&D or another RPG game, and like playing with friends, and people just have to watch and nothing else.
Well, I don't have the numbers, but I have the strong feeling that Twitch is a awesome tool for interaction.
Yeah.
That's why we're here, and we're trying to focus on interaction. Otherwise, it would probably be better if we were like playing on YouTube, because YouTube has like a huger community in Brazil, a larger community in Brazil. So Twitch, it's not very popular yet. I believe it's also a interesting form of interaction, and it's what happens in bigger channels actually. For example, I don't think there's a way to interact with Critical Role, which would be like the biggest. Yes, actually, you have to pay. You have to subscribe just to watch them in the first place. But the history is paramount for them. You know what I mean? It's the most important thing. So I think they're trying to make sure that no one can change the history in a meaningful way. And that's not true about our game, because we focus on interaction. So the whole point is allowing the community to change the history. As I just told you, one of our followers created this god that didn't even exist in the first place, and it was important for our characters. So, you know, I think these are different styles. But I don't see much point on using Twitch if you're not interested on interaction, you know?
Yep.
So I would definitely say it's nice, it's fun. It's like rolling dice, because you never know what you're gonna get, and the thrill of rolling dice is the same thrill of trying to see what your followers are gonna do with your story. So I like that chaos.
You have to have an open mind to receive whatever it comes.
Yes. Here in Brazil, I don't know if you guys ever went to the Comic Con. You know,
Yeah.
we have a very big Comic Con experience here in Brazil. It happens in December, and I went to Comic Con. I think it was 2019, I guess, and we had this open RPG session. They invited some streamers,
Nice.
people who made stand-up comedy and had stream channels in YouTube and other social media to play RPG. So they went to this big room and they were playing like it was one dungeon master, 5 players, something like that. But the whole audience could change the course of the history. So they were allowed to control the NPCs. So it was
Wow.
very nice because they went there with no history at all. They had no story to tell. They had no script. They just started playing. It started inside a tavern, of course, and they did something like, okay, so you're walking on the road, and then a goblin appears. So what does the goblin say? And they reached the microphone to someone in the audience.
No,
You
my
know,
God.
yes, and the guy who raised his hand could just say what the goblin would say. So the story was very hard to predict, and it was very interesting. I don't think it would work because it's very open, so it's hard for the dungeon master to tell a story there. It's more just for fun. But it's also very nice because it's like a sample, a taste of what we're trying to do in Twitch, which is giving the control of the story to the audience as well.
Wow, it's a lovely mechanic. I think I will try it sometime. It is
Yes, there was like 300 people in the audience, I guess, maybe a little more. So it goes crazy very
fun.
fast.
Yeah.
Be aware of it. Yes.
I think actually we were talking about channel points or maybe cuts. It works with a little audience. I mean, 30 people, 50 people. But when many people is playing coins and playing cards, it is it is to the in the age for the mess. It's chaotic. I mean,
Yes. Uh,
it could be.
we had this. I'm sorry. We had this reward that our audience could send a message directly to our characters.
Yeah.
We call it whispers. It was like interdimensional messages that
Nice.
our characters could hear. Yes, and they could use like the information inside the game. And it was very cheap at first. It was like 50 meta coins or stuff like that. So it's very easy to get that, and people started to use it a lot during our campaigns. So what we had to do was to raise the price.
Yeah.
You have to raise the price to make sure that people do not claim their rewards all the time, because it's hard to track sometimes during the most intense moments in the campaign. Players are not really interested in checking the chat, Twitch chat all the time. So we try to make sure that we have a reasonable amount of reward claiming during our campaign, so we don't get lost. Yes.
Yeah. We got a problem here with cards that people spam the, the the game all the time. The mechanics here are the cards have cooldowns, so
Yes.
you can.
Oh,
stop-
there's also cooldowns. Yes.
Yeah, so you can avoid it. Well, we were talking about Comic Con and people and streamers going to the Comic Con, streamers for RPG games, and so
Yes.
So, can you tell me how can you see the community of RPG games in Brazil? Is very big. Are you in contact? Tell me more.
Well, first of all, I need to make a disclaimer because there are a few channels that are way bigger than our channel in Brazil. So I'm saying that because they probably know more people than I do, but I try to keep myself informed. So I do have some thoughts on the Brazilian community on RPG games. And well, I have mixed feelings actually because on one hand, we do have this exciting community in Brazil because we have a lot of authors and streamers who are working on their own content, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Right now, next week, we're going to an event called Offline Fun that takes place here in São Paulo. There's like the last edition was in 2019, so I'm not sure what to expect right now, but in the last edition they had like more than 2,000 people, so it's kind of a big conference. And they have this prize called Golden Goblin for the best RPG content. So it's like an Oscar, a Brazilian Oscar for the RPG.
Yep.
And you can see if you go into their website that there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. People have produced interesting stuff during the last year. And there are a few big streamers. And actually Brazil always had this big RPG community since the 90s when the first RPG system started to get in Brazil. The first editions of Dungeons and Dragons and our own systems started to get popular as well. We had like this international convention. I think the last edition, it's over now, but the last edition was in 2015, I guess. So yes, there's a lot going on. I could go into specifics if you'd like. Just ask. But on the other hand, there's the mixed feeling stuff because I feel that we do not, released our full potential yet. Because I see this big community, there's a lot of people who want to go into RPG. Every day on Instagram, someone sends me a DM saying, "Oh, I'd like to know how to play RPG. How can I play RPG? So can you teach me how to play RPG? Where can I find a table?" and stuff like that. So I think that there's a huge potential for RPG. I think it's an awesome game and often misunderstood for people who don't know it. And I think Brazil, could be RPG could be bigger in Brazil.
Yeah, nice.
I think there's a lot of content that we didn't explore yet, and I see it's growing, but I also think that it could go like way faster,
Yeah.
considering its potential. So
You talk about people trying to play or learn about RPGs. Don't you use Discord servers to play?
yes, we use Discord servers to play. We do have our own Discord server, and we have this bot for arranging tables, so you can create your own table and people can subscribe.
Okay. Nice.
But in my experience, there's way more players than dungeon masters. So there's always this huge line of players waiting for their turn to play, and just a few dungeon masters who are willing to compromise their time and stop and offer a table, especially for. Because I see there are dungeon masters who, of course, are interested in teaching new players, but it takes time, it takes patience.
Sorry.
Sure.
I think that yes. No, we are online too. Yep. Just go on. Transmission, go off and go back. I don't know. Some troubles from the connection. Don't worry. We are online.
Oh, no problem. So, you see, that's the main problem, I guess, because it's not easy to get into the RPG community. It's a hard hobby, I guess,
Wow.
because it takes hours to play, you need to read a bunch of stuff if you want to play by the rules, especially if you're playing a heavy ruled system like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
So the books are not cheap, even though you could find a PDF online. But if you want like the physical stuff, it's here in Brazil right now. It's expensive to get one of those. So I would say there's a lot of barriers, and I think that's keeping people away from RPG. And we do our best to try to make it popular, try to make it accessible, but I don't think it's enough. I know we should think of something. Maybe the conventions, the in-person conventions of RPG or online conventions. I'm not sure if I knew how to do this, I probably would be rich right now. But yes, I think there's a lot of potential for RPG to grow in Brazil.
Yeah, here in Argentina we got actually not specifically in Argentina, but we got the lucky. That all Latin America can speak Spanish, so there's a lot of communities. We can send people to play with. Sometimes people come to our channel or our Instagram and the same question as you: where can I play Dungeons and Dragons? Where I can play this or that? And my answer always is to send them to some of my preferred communities.
Yes.
Maybe Rol en Casa, this a Colombian community, or Red de Rol is called here in Argentina, where there are DMs prepared to receive new people to play games. That's what I ask you about communities in RPGs within Discord, using Discord.
We do have Discord communities. Some of them are quite big, actually, but they arrange tables. But I don't know how friendly they are for new players. I'm not sure because you play RPG as well, so there's a lot to learn. You need someone to help you out to make our first character sheet and stuff like that.
You have to make some effort to play. It's not just walking to Mordor. It's not just sit and play. You got a bit of work. You have to do some work.
Yes, you do. Definitely, you do. You should actually.
Yes. Okay. Well, now we're talking about RPGs, and we got a winner in Brazil that is bigger, actually bigger in maybe Roll20. We're talking about Tormenta 20, I think it is the name.
Yes.
What is this? They are
okay.
You got chained in Brazil. We can get it. I couldn't find Tormenta in Spanish. I don't know why.
I don't think I don't think there's Tormenta in Spanish. Definitely there must be a English edition for Tormenta right now. But yes, I don't think there's a Spanish edition, unfortunately.
Free Tormenta. Well, tell
us.
Yes.
You guys could translate it, I guess, because people from the publisher Jambu Editora, which is our biggest RPG publisher right now, they're very accessible. They have an Instagram profile. You could get in touch, and if you guys are interested in translating,
we can try.
Yeah, why not? Yes.
Well, tell us about Tormenta. What is it? What is the mechanics? History. We need some history about it.
Oh, okay. So the history of Tormenta goes back to the late 90s, I guess. Yes. So there was this journal of RPG in Brazil, a physical journal. You need to go, to the journal store and buy it. So we call it Dragon Brazil. Yeah. And they used to publish about this fictional world. and they were like creating a world through their editions. So in the 50th edition of Dragon Brazil, yes, 50th edition, they did like just this major publication about Tormenta. It was first released inside this magazine, Dragon Brazil, and back then they used like it was like more a scenario, and you could play this scenario in GURPS, D20, or Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you could play like in some different systems. So it had back then. It didn't have a system of its own.
It is the idea of an adventure, and you can use the idea in different systems. I mean,
it's more like a scenario. There's no adventure. Yes. So, but to avoid copyright problems, I guess, they decided to publish their first edition with a unique system, a system of Tormenta. Back then was 3D&T, I guess, which is a Brazilian system. I don't think there's more new 3D&T RPGs right now. So in 2003, Tormenta was released in its first edition using D20 system. So it's very similar to Dungeons and Dragons. The system, it's pretty much the same. So you have your 6 basic stats, you have to roll a d20, add your bonuses, and see if you beat the difficult class, you know?
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. But just recently, in 2019, Tormenta released a new edition with a lot of improvements. It's called Tormenta 20 because it's celebrating its 20th anniversary birthday.
Okay.
Yes. And they before publishing, they went to a crowdfunding campaign, and they are trying to get like 80,000 reais, I guess, to publish their book. And they managed to get like 2 million reais. So it was huge. People are like, you know, wanting to see the book released and published. So there's this new book, which is exciting. There's a lot of new stuff. But there's also, if you are more familiar to Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, you will see some... it's similar in some ways. Tormenta, it's more simple in one hand, but on the other hand, it has like 17 races, playable races, and 14 classes, so it's a lot of combinations for a basic book. And it's pretty interesting. I know a lot of people who are big streamers in Brazil who are playing Tormenta, and some interesting people from our community they participated on the development of Tormenta 20.
Nice.
So yes, it's epic, it's medieval, just like Dungeons and Dragons. There are these playable races which are also similar to Dungeons and Dragons: human, dwarves, elves, goblins. There are some different races though, like Minotaur. I don't know if that's the...
Right, it's understood.
Yes. And also some original races like Dalan, Lefou, Quarren, which are, you know, different races with unique features. And that's it. But some time ago, someone asked me on our Instagram, someone went there and said, well, okay, João, why do you think Tormenta is not more popular? And I don't have an answer for that, but I have some thoughts. So I think Tormenta kind of competes with Dungeons and Dragons because they have this similar flavor. So I don't know. For example, I'm a Dungeons Dragons guy myself. I've never played Tormenta. I've been through the book, not into much detail. I know how it works. I've read especially the unique races, so I know a few about them. But you know, if I'm going for a epic medieval RPG, I'm definitely going to for Dungeons and Dragons. It's not because I think Dungeons and Dragons is inherently better, but I think Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, it's more familiar for me, but also they have this wild schedule of publication. They're releasing like 3 books a year, so every year you get like 2 or 3 new scenarios with new rules, improvements, variations, new monsters, and it's hard to compete with that.
Yes,
You know?
yes. Using your words, it's a massive community. Also, you can get
Yes.
D&D content from everywhere.
Yes. Third-party homebrew content. It's all available online and for free. I mean, why not? Yes, and that's why we play Dungeons and Dragons actually, because I think we're going to have a boost on our community in Brazil in a few years, because there was a Brazilian publisher who used to publish Dungeons and Dragons book in Brazil,
Nice.
and they did not. They broke up. So right now, Wizards of the Coast is publishing Brazilian books themselves.
Well, nice.
So as they do with Magic the Gathering, the card game,
Yes, yes.
they'll probably will have like a local community for development of Brazilian
Wow.
material
They got
and
their
stuff like
own
that.
office in Brazil.
They do not, but I think
Some
they
kind
will.
of,
Yes,
kind of.
yes. In a near future, I think they will have. So I hope to see a development of Dungeons and Dragons in Brazil, and especially because Wizards of the Coast might take a look into it and make a careful approach to the Brazilian market in the next few years. So that's why we play Dungeons and Dragons. We're hoping to maybe surf that wave.
Westeros is by now looking to America, the Central and South America, the whole of whole. I don't know. Well, they are looking. They are looking to us. Also, of course, as you say, Brazil. They are interesting. They are. I think they are looking for some material from America, from South and Central America, to create. I think some content to Wizards without using the things in English.
Yes.
They are used to.
Yes.
We got
I
some
mean,
kind of opportunity. I mean,
South America, it's a huge market for RPG, and money is money, so they'll probably work harder on get translations, especially for Spanish, I guess, in the near future. I think Spelljammer, for example, which will be released late this year,
yep.
will be simultaneously released in English and Spanish and Italian or something like that. I'm not sure, but maybe, yes.
I'm not good with D&D, so I can't answer that. But I think that I remember that there are some books that are going to be translated in Spanish, actually.
Yes, yes.
Well, tell me, there is another RPG games created in Brazil, and
Yes.
moreover, there are RPGs that tells the history or the myth of Brazil.
Yes. There. Okay, so that's an important question because yes, there are a few RPGs who were created to tell a history that goes, especially in Brazil during colonization. You know.
Yep.
So at the same time I love them, but I also hate them because they are very interesting. Some of these RPGs won awards internationally in the past because they are very well done. One of them was written by an American guy who's been living in Brazil for a while now. I can send you the link later.
Yep. Thank
It's
you.
in Portuguese. It's called a bandeira de elefante da arara, the banner of the elephant, and the I don't know what's the word for arara in English. In English, but this RPGs that do tell the history of Brazil, they are very literal. They are really into it, and they're almost educational in some sense because these histories they indeed happen in Brazil with the same locations, and it would be pretty much the same if Dungeons and Dragons took place in places like France, England, or stuff like that. And I don't like it very much. I mean, from a educational point of view, it's interesting, but I don't think it's very appealing because people are more into fantasy stuff. So we're trying to develop one RPG ourselves. It's actually a scenario for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. We call it Musania. So we're developing it. Will be our next campaign. We're writing it right now and creating our own races and classes for Dungeons and Dragons. But it will be like a more fantastic twist of Brazilian history, actually of the colonization of the whole South America. So we're trying to mix up some elements of the Brazilian colonization and Brazilian history and myths, folk culture and stuff like that, with some, Indians from the South America as a whole.
Nice.
So yes, there are a few RPGs. I would definitely take a look into them. They're very interesting, but stay put for our own RPG, which is coming soon. I mean, in 3 months or 4, maybe we'll be releasing it.
Nice.
And it's gonna be free for all. So we're gonna just distribute the PDF so anyone can play in our world and stuff like that. And of course, we will also transmit our adventures on Twitch.
Nice. Besides D&D and fantasy histories, I was traveling for some channels in some streamers in Brazil, and it could be possible that you love like maybe terror histories.
Yes, so there's probably one of the major streamers that we had in the recent past was Selbit. I don't know if you found it. It's called Paranormal Order, the RPG, which is yes, it's huge. I mean, very big.
Which is the name?
Selbit. It's CELLBIT.
Can you put it in the chat?
Right? Sure, of course, yes.
In the Twitch chat, I mean, eh?
Yes, of course. Just did. Oh, so okay, just sent. And this guy is actually a huge streamer. So he's famous for being a streamer. But recently he was a dungeon master for this adventure called Paranormal Order. And actually, he's one of the favorites for winning the Golden Goblin I just told you about.
Yeah.
Because his story became a book, an RPG book, and it's very popular. A lot of, especially kids, they are going into RPG because they are in love with Paranormal Order, which is his RPG, and it's pretty much a horror RPG. It's quite similar to Call of Cthulhu. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, can you repeat?
Call of Cthulhu.
Yes,
the
yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, I told you later before. Cultos Innombrables. I don't know how to put it in Portuguese, but
Sure.
it's innumerable cults. I don't know how to put it in English either, but it's some kind of the Call of Cthulhu, but
Yes.
in the actual day.
Oh, okay. So it happens like nowadays.
Yes, but there's a difference. You don't play as a detective. You play as a cultist.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yes, it's Really? So you manage the the powers of the olds, and so then I can link you this later, but
Sure, sure.
it is good. It's fun.
I'd love to take a look into it. So, yes, we do have Selbit RPG, which is pretty much horror. We have a lot of horror RPGs going on in some minor communities as well. And we do have some other interesting stuff other than epic medieval RPGs. For example, we have this channel in Brazil that I like a lot. It's called Sacramento, which is Western RPG.
Wow, nice.
I myself, I love Western movies, and there are a few Western RPGs out there. But these guys of Sacramento, it's very interesting. If you're into like more critical role stuff, they're that they have that feeling because they have this nice production. They play in-person RPG. Their microphones are awesome. The image is beautiful. They have like this trailers where they are they use costumes of Western and stuff like that. So if you're into watching people play RPG more, if you're more interested in the story rather than the system or the mechanics or the gaming, you'd probably should take a look at Sacramento. It's very interesting.
Nice. More narrative stuff. I mean, I think
Sorry?
it's some kind. They tell more stories than
Yes.
using the dices. I mean,
Yes, they're very focused on role playing, I guess.
role-playing.
They're yes.
Nice. With the here in Argentina we consume a lot of Netflix. Yep.
Sure. Yes.
A lot.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. It was just the introduction. Sorry. There are some products from Brazil that are very interesting. Actually, for me at least, we got 3%. I don't know if you see it.
3%?
3%.
Oh, I didn't actually. It's
Okay.
like a. Oh, okay. So it's a series. Okay,
Yes.
I'm seeing it. Okay, I never watched. Should
Well,
I?
this is the first and the second season are awesome. The first one is incredible. There are another two ones. One of them is Ciudad Invisible. Cidade Invisible. I don't know how to
Yes.
put it. And
Badges Invisibles. Yes, I know it.
yes,
Yeah.
and second one is the same producer. O Escogido.
Hmm.
El,
Let me check
el
it out.
elegido o escogido. It's right. I am pronouncing it right.
I'm not sure if I get it. Let me see.
Let me check. Well, the second one. Let me. El elegido. Let me check if I find it. This is. Yeah. Well, I don't know the how to put it in Portuguese. The writers of this are Rafael Dracón and Carolina Muñoz. They
Okay.
they write Dragones del Éter.
Okay.
Well, El Escogido is some kind of cult that is in the Amazonic jungle. I don't know. His jungle is a word, and
Yes.
a group of medics
Mhm.
need to get there to give them some vaccines, I think.
Yes.
And they abduct them, and well, I won't tell you anymore about. But
Spoilers, please.
yes, don't. But it's some kind of black magic with abductions. Abductions, I mean people abduction, not aliens, not aliens.
Yes, I was about to ask you that. It's more like a Lovecraftian stuff, or
Yes,
it's more like
that
X
was the
Files?
point I was going to. Yeah, some kind
Okay.
of Lovecraftian. Yeah, it's awesome. The chosen one. I mean, is really really nice. Ciudad Invisible is more fantastic. It's nice, but it's a good stuff to see. I was trying to find some game or some RPG like Ciudad Invisible or something something like Rafael Dracon, right? About
Okay.
Dragones the letter. I don't know if you read these novels or if you know them.
I do not, but as far as I can tell, what you're talking about sounds pretty much like Call of Cthulhu. Even though the original Lovecraftian RPG takes place in the late 20s,
Yep.
um, so some of the skills might sound a little too old for that. But I like to think that the system, the mechanics of Call of Cthulhu works for pretty much every low fantasy RPG.
Yeah.
We had a full podcast episode about it, and we're just discussing how Call of Cthulhu works for pretty much every kind of low fantasy horror. So you can make like small changes in the system, and maybe change some skills to make it sound a little more like the the time frame you're trying to tell your story within. But the mechanics are perfect because they have this mechanics on sanity.
Yep.
When you start to see weird stuff, your sanity starts to decrease and your mind starts breaking, and you can die. You can lose your character if you go really insane. So you need to check on this, make sure you do not get in touch very often with paranormal stuff. So I think probably would be an RPG that could, fit this kind of story that you're interested in.
Nice. And so, João Lucas, what else you can tell us? I don't have any more questions. We travel around an hour talking about RPGs, so it is a lot. I don't know. No sé, Spanish now. No sé si hay alguien en el chat que quiera hacer alguna pregunta. Si la quiere hacer en español ya la puedo traducir, si no, ningún problema. Si querés decir, if you want to tell the same, if someone can ask some question, if you want to tell this in Portuguese, please.
It's okay. If I can understand you when you're speaking Spanish, I think most people who are watching can also get it.
Okay, don't worry.
But I would help. I would be happy to answer a few questions because, as I was saying, this is an interesting opportunity to exchange some information about what's going on in a different country. So I'd like to hear about people who follow you on Twitch. If they have any questions, I'd be willing to answer them and be happy to do so.
Today we are low of public, but I will put it in YouTube, and maybe we got some questions over there.
Well, if they do, send me out and I can answer.
Yes,
I'd be happy
of
to
course.
do so. Yes.
Maybe more in the future, in the next future. We, as I told you, we got the Carnaval Rolero, where you, of course,
Yes.
are invited. We are going to make some noise to get this interview again, or kind of, and
Sure.
maybe we can get some questions in that moment.
That would be awesome. Yes.
Well,
And
yes.
well, I think that's it. If people send questions, I can answer. But I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to know about the Brazilian community, maybe about our own RPGs. If you're out of questions, I'm good.
I don't know if it's actually you talk about these events. You talk about Tormenta. You talk about community. If you want to add something else, don't worry, we can do it. I think we got a general view of Brazilian RPG community. I don't know. You like to add something else? It would be
Well,
glad.
sure. I of course, there's a lot more to know about the RPG scenario in Brazil. I myself, I don't really know everything there's out there to know because when you asked me about events,
Yes.
I went to look online about events because, as I said, we had this national event. The last edition took place in São Paulo in 2015, and since then I don't think we have a major national RPG event right now, because offline fun where the Golden Goblin takes place and so forth, it's not focused on RPG itself. It's more like tabletop games in general. So we right now the RPG events, they are not very common, I guess. Most of initiatives, they are more local, so we don't have like this national in-person RPG convention. We have these small conventions taking place in different towns and so forth. And I think that's because RPG, it's getting more and more online. So people are talking about RPGs inside Facebook communities, Reddit communities, and Discord, Roll20, and another virtual tabletops. Instagram, we have a few nice Instagrammers in Brazil who produce content, especially comedy content about RPG inside Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that. So, well, I think that's pretty much it. Um, I'm excited to see what's the future of RPG in Brazil, and of course I'm also excited to take part in Carnaval Rolero, which is gonna take place at the end of the year, I guess. So November. Okay, so we'll be there. I can guarantee that, and probably offer a table for you guys in Portuguese if you're interested.
Would love.
Yes. So it's nice to be the first Brazilian community to participate on Carnaval Rolero and to exchange some RPG culture with our neighbors. So, of course, I'm always at your disposal. Whenever you need me, you can just, give me a call and let's make an interview or anything you want to do. The collaborations are always welcome in our channel, and I think that's it. And I'd like to thank Aleph Perf.
Yes, he's our Cthulhu Cultus Nombrales master. He is going to have an interview in another channel. We are going to write them now, but he is one of the I don't know how to put it, editorial.
Okay. Yes.
Here in Argentina and Chile, they work together, and they are creating RPG games. He leave us a lot of love. I see. we got Gali Scott. He is one of our staff in Carnaval Rolero, and I think GV Bernardi, are you? I see that.
Yes.
Cherry Gold School.
Actually, JV Bernardi. Oh, it's my brother. It's not me. Yes.
Okay. Yes, it's the same. Just the V.
Surname, yes. The surname, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. And nothing else. I think that we got a general view. It is nice. Actually, I will leave you MetaJogo. I will share your Twitch and your Instagram, and that's it.
Thank you very much.
Many thanks for this interview, and well, we are of course open to anything you need. Okay, that's all, folks. Voy a hablar en castellano. I will talk in Spanish. Gente, muchísimas gracias por habernos acompañado. Discúlpenme mi dificultoso inglés, espero que se haya entendido. Y después YouTube se va a encargar de generar los subtítulos. Muchísimas gracias a todo el mundo que estuvo. Y si lo estás viendo en YouTube, querés hacer consultas, querés hacer preguntas, puedes usar la caja de comentarios para que, bueno, te saques las dudas y después las acercaremos a MetaJogo RPG de Brasil. Gracias.